Hi, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Connor.
And this is a chit chat, chunky chat with the rabbit, rat. I am half of your co-hosts, Lindsay.
And I'm the other half, Connor.
And we're here to discuss creative collaborations and partnerships today.
Yeah, that's the topic we've been kind of circling the past couple of weeks. We work in the film industry, and so collaboration's a massive part of what we do all the time. Like, you really can't make a film by yourself.
Filmmaking is one of the most collaborative art forms. I would put it right next to theater.
Yes.
You know,
I would agree.
Painting you can generally do by yourself. You can wear those really cool pants and have a wild haircut and just like in your own apartment. You can do that totally by yourself. But if you want to make a film, if you want to put up a play, you got to have 55 other people in the room.
Exactly.
Which is great. It can be fantastic. It can also be exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, so you actually went to school in New York.
I did.
And you have a lot of experience in putting on plays, right? What's kind of your experience in that collaborative effort when it comes to theater? Because I worked a little bit of tech crew in high school on theater, but like, what is it like from the kind of inception to the actual putting on the show portion of it?
Well, I think a little microcosm example that I can give is for my thesis. I didn't get to decide what my thesis was. At the time, I went to the New School in New York, and the New School decided for each individual student what they were going to do for their thesis. They were put into like one of 4 clusters, and I was put in the cluster called devised theater. And devised theater is when everybody gets together and decides what the script is going to be about, what the look of it is going to be, what the underlying theme is going to be, and who is going to play what parts, and how technically that is going to come to be. So it's the most collaborative form of the most collaborative art form.
I was about to say, it sounds very forcefully collaborative, if anything. Yeah.
And I actually begged my program director, like, take me out of this class. I do not want to be in this class. Like,
so funny.
This is awful. And they were like, no, I think it'll be a great fit for you. I was the only writer in this class. The other 5 people in the class were actresses, and the kind of we would get together once a week, and we would sit in a circle, and we would talk about what we wanted to put on, what we wanted the play to be. And everybody would share ideas. And some of the ideas that I was getting was, I would like to wear a corset.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. For a 120-page script, and you want to give me corset. Okay. I had another person who was like, I'd love to play a pirate. I've never played a pirate before. I'm like, okay, so I'm feeling, period drama maybe. And I would go off, and every week I would write a different version of this play, and I would bring it in, and we would read it out loud, and then they would tell me, yeah, I don't think I'm a big enough part of this, or I don't really think this is like technically available to it. Like, we have to build a whole ship, so maybe nix the pirate thing, maybe just stick with the corset thing. And that was an entire academic year. That was the process. So then when we finally decided on what the play was actually going to be, I would go off and write it, and we came up with 200 drafts of this script.
Oh my God, that's so many drafts.
Yeah, and it came back, and we met with like a lighting team and a sound team and a costume design team, and everybody came together and
the actual
really made it happen.
The good collaboration started at that point. Yeah.
And really, when the technical elements started coming in, I was like, holy shit, did we accidentally write an amazing play? It was fantastic. And I know I keep saying like I was going off and writing it. I was doing like the click clack writing and making a lot of creative decisions, but this was like I cannot stress how collaborative this whole thing was. Yeah. That email chain haunts me. The amount of emails and things exchanged. So yeah, I mean, if you're asking how collaboration in theater works, I mean, that's a hyperbole example. Sure. But theater is extremely collaborative.
It is. And I think that's kind of a precursor for like what you would eventually experience in film, right? Because your focus at USC was television writing.
Yes, that was my specialty.
Yeah, and television itself is an even more, I would say, collaborative form of like the film medium when it comes to what we think of, right?
Oh yeah, you have a writer's room.
Yeah, exactly.
You have like 15 other people in the room, and you're all writing different sections of the script, and they all have to work together. So you can't go off and say, well, I really want the story to sound this way. You have to consider, what does the showrunner want? What does the show already sound like?
Right.
What are the other writers writing? Like, you can't all be writing your own book. It all has to come together. It's a real feat.
It is. I know. And I find it surprising because, when you actually work on a film set, you see how much give and take is required to like kind of achieve the goal. And to me, it's surprising that in film, especially, we celebrate like the auteur, you know, the single-minded, brilliant, creative, somewhat troubled and broody.
I hate this.
I know. And
I blame Orson Welles.
I think Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock are probably
it's their fault.
responsible for this idea, right? This singular vision guy, the captain of the ship who is going to tell you exactly what to do. And they kind of hold the kind of master set of keys on how to get the project made.
Such a misunderstanding of what the art form is.
It really is.
I think Ryan Coogler is getting a lot of flowers right now, and I think they're deserved for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons I really respect Ryan Coogler is he is hyper collaborative.
He is.
He brought on a Choctaw specialist for Sinners, and the Choctaw appeared in one scene.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do that, but he wanted to make sure that he was being like he was culturally resonant and like appropriate, and that they were showing up in the same way with the same amount of authenticity as everybody else in that movie. So I think that really speaks to how collaborative and open-minded he is to the other professionals in the room. That's what makes a great director.
I would agree. And I think you feel that on the screen, you know what I mean? And you feel it in the way that he speaks about the crew and speaks about the project, and in the way that people keep working with him, you know?
Yeah.
I think a lot of like the auteur kind of, what you call genius boys in one episode, tend to rub people the wrong way for good reasons, because they're kind of jerks ultimately. Kind of, yeah. Max Joseph of Catfish fame.
Yes.
He has a YouTube channel where he produces content. And one of the things that he made is a little documentary called Dicks. And it's about, do you have to be a jerk in order to make things happen?
I'm so fascinated by that.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that.
Well,
what was the, have you seen the documentary?
It's great. It's like 30 minutes long. It's on YouTube.
God.
You can watch it right now. Don't click off this video though. But yeah, it's great. He actually ends up talking to Peter Berg, who is a director who did the Mark Wahlberg trilogy of Lone Survivor, the one about the Boston bombing, and the Deepwater Horizon movie.
Right. Boy movies.
And Peter Berg is a very solid director. Like, dude is like technical to a fault and has a reputation for being kind of a dick.
Who could have seen that coming?
Exactly.
Dude bro cinema director is not a nice guy.
I think that is something that I'm sure you see it in a lot of other creative fields, but of course, I work in the film industry. You see it in the film industry a lot. People mostly men who push forward to the front of the line saying, me, look at my thing, pay attention to me. You know what I mean? And again, it goes against what I think of as film, because collaboration is kind of the most important part of what we do. There's a great quote I found from Ricky Gervais, who was being interviewed about collaboration as an artist. And he said, yeah, collaboration's great as long as I get my way, you know? And I think that's how a lot of people view television, especially because the showrunner can be kind of dictatorial, right? Very like fascist in the way that they run things.
Yeah. Or they could not be. It really depends on the person.
It does. One person who has that reputation is Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon was very like, it has to be my vision. It has to go the way I want. He would threaten to walk off if Sony or the executives tried to interfere, which, you know, I think there's, I don't know, you've actually done writing collaborations and worked in that space before. You know, there's a fine line between hurting the project because of your vision and like wanting to protect what is there, right? Yes. Where do you think that line is when it comes to being a showrunner or being in a writer's room?
Does it serve the story? Mm-hmm. If so, you should fight for it. If it doesn't serve the story, let it go. That's what I think.
I think that seems like a very easy philosophy to follow.
It's like, I understand very much the tendency as a writer to bring a script or an idea to somebody, and then they want to change it. Oh, I think we make this character a woman and we change their name, and I think we give them these qualities, and I think, oh, instead of 1985, I think we set it nowadays because that'll cut down on the budget. And I think instead of being in the house, they're outside of the house. And at some point, it can feel very like, oh my God, this isn't even the script. Like we've lost so many of the ingredients that made me want to cook in the first place.
I know.
So I think that's perfectly natural. I think as a showrunner, it's your responsibility to be a collaborator and to invite other ideas. I know executives get a very bad rep in the industry, and that is totally self-inflicted and most of the time very well deserved.
Sure.
I think sometimes like they are there offering truly decent advice.
Mhm.
Like, hey, this is going to be really expensive. Are you sure you want to spend all that money here? If not, we can have an extra episode at the end, or we can do that other really big scene you were talking about, or we can get this really cool guest star to come in, and that could help the show grow even more. That could help tell the story. And if you're just clinging with a white knuckle grip to every little thing that you've written, you're not going to hear any of those really good ideas.
Yeah.
And then if you are constantly stalling production to storm off the set and throw a big boy fit and have a tantrum, now you are threatening hundreds, thousands of jobs.
Yeah.
Grow up.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I don't know what Dan Harmon was getting defensive about or what he was protecting. Maybe it really was the core of the show. And I think if somebody is coming for the core of your story, you should threaten to walk. You should throw your weight around. That's a great time to do that.
I agree.
If that's not happening, grow up.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. He did it so often. You got to question, okay, are the executives really this hard on you for it?
I doubt it.
But funny enough, I actually worked with somebody who worked on Community when Dan Harmon was running the show.
Love Community.
And there was somebody in kind of a creative position. I was like, what was the deal there? And he said, Sony really didn't see what Dan wanted to do, or see whoever the network was at the time. It's like they really didn't understand his vision. And I think that was the kind of the problem.
That sucks.
It does.
Because then what do you do?
Exactly.
Because if they really are coming in every day and threatening the integrity of the story, you do have to keep butting heads with them. You do have to keep fighting for the integrity of the story, always.
Yeah. Have you ever threatened to walk off or threatened like, hey, I can't do this anymore on a project before?
Yeah, I was working on a project that the entire crew was men, except for me and one grip. Even the hair and makeup people were all men, which is
really
hyper unusual.
That is unusual.
And there was a younger actress in a more intimate scene, and they were really pushing her. It was like towards the end of the day. And they were like, hey, we really just need to get this. Like, do you mind? And she was like, no, this certain thing is in my contract. Like, I really don't want to. And they were like, no, we really need to get this done. Do you mind? And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I will literally storm out of here and not watch this scene. And I'll report you to whatever authority available, because this is completely ridiculous.
So they were pressuring this young actress to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an intimate scene, and there was no intimacy coordinator. And it was really hot that day, and it was an entire male crew. And there was no, hey, if you guys don't need to be here, don't be on set. There was no etiquette around it.
I see.
It was just pressuring this. Literally, she was 19 years old. I think this was like her first big project, and she was really uncomfortable. And yeah, I did. I was like, I'll literally ruin your life.
Good for you. No, that's that's the right way to do it.
I don't think they learned a damn thing. They were just like, oh, fine. Like, if it's going to be this whole thing, it was me and the grip against the world.
Exactly. But like, kind of fuck them. Like, I don't know. As long as you protect the person, as long as that actress ended up okay at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
We didn't even end up shooting the scene.
Yeah.
That was the other thing that was bothering me. I was like, this scene doesn't matter to the story. You want her to get naked. Why? It's so irrelevant to the story and what we're doing here. Why do you need her to get naked? And why are you getting so aggressive with her when she says that she doesn't want to?
Right. And you keep pressuring and keep pressuring and keep pressuring.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, go comb your mustache.
Exactly. I know. I've never threatened to walk off a project before over creative differences, but I have left projects because of creative differences. There's no threat of it. It's just...
You just leave.
Yeah, well...
You Irish exit.
Not even an Irish exit. I remember I was working... Somebody approached me to write a short film for them. And it was kind of based on a very personal story of like their life. And I took my time. I did kind of interviews with this person and their family and whatever else. And I kept getting notes back on every iteration of the script. And the script was only about 10 to 15 pages long. It was not very long. And the notes stopped being kind of, broad changes on whatever, on the actual direction thing. It started becoming like, okay, what if we actually, instead of a short film, what if we made this into like a mini series? Like, what if this was like a pilot, and then we could, do this as, and release it on YouTube in multiple parts, and then we could pitch it as a thing. What if we made it like a game show? And it became this kind of wild, out of control thing where it's like, hey, we're way past the scope of what we originally kind of agreed to do here. It sounds like you've got a great idea for where you want to take this. Sounds like you've got a very direct idea potentially for where you want to take this. I don't know if it includes me. I don't
Mhm.
know if I'm the right person for this, right?
Sometimes people are playing tennis with the wall and they think they want a partner.
That's a really good way to put it, Lindsay. Wow. That's such a good way to put it. Yes, that's exactly correct. Some people think they want a partner, and really they just want someone to echo their ideas back to them,
Yeah.
you know?
I think a really great creative collaboration is like you throw something at them, they throw something back. It's like it's like that really cheesy rule in improv where it's yes and.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and then also we can add this in and then ooh cool, I had this weird experience and then you just keep folding in ideas and then eventually you have something like where you can't tell, you cannot discern where you begin and where the other person starts. There's no, it's just your own thing. I experienced that just recently because I was brought on to write a script on spec. So we're totally in like the very early development stage. But it was me and the director going back and forth on this document, like on this brainstorming document, essentially, very early outline of a screenplay. And for like 2 weeks, we've just been batting back and forth and made the story grow. And today I looked at it and I'm like, I literally can't tell whose idea was whose anymore, which is exactly what you want.
Exactly.
It's the best feeling in the world. It's like a well-blended choir. You're like, you don't want to hear 45 individual voices. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Ew, I want to go home.
Right.
You want to hear one clear voice that's resonant and blending all together.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want it to look like a quilt. You don't want to be able to notice the patches.
No, that was my big problem in choirs. I was too loud. I really wanted to be noticed. My dad was like, I can always hear you over the other people. And he said it like a compliment, but I think he was trying to give me a little something. And I didn't pick up on that advice. I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep singing loud.
Yeah. What's the note behind the note? Like you and I like to say.
Everything's a solo if you're loud enough.
Yeah, I know. I think writing collaboration is really tough. I've not had a ton of experience doing it, but I don't know how good I would be in a writer's room. I don't know if I would actually function very well in that environment.
Why not?
I don't know. I think because I don't have a lot of practice in it. I don't know how to give back and forth on ideas. You actually, the other night, you brought me in a little bit into your world because you were working on a project. You've been working on this project. And I think you were working on working through some notes that you had gotten recently on a script, and you just wanted to ping some ideas off of me. And that was so much fun. I thought that was great. And it was very unserious. And I think it was really nice for me because there were no stakes in it for me. You know, you weren't asking me to come on as your co-writer. You were just like, hey, does this make sense? And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. What if you did this? You know, and then you're like, okay, cool. I could see that. Oh, and then it kind of explodes into a different thing, right? That was a very unique thing for me because I've had partnerships in the past where they were supposed to be creative partnerships, and they ended up not being very creative partnerships.
Yeah,
you know. But I think the true creative collaboration that comes from that is exactly like you said. It's like seeing that thing kind of come together after it's a good improv. It's like watching good improv. Good improv is really rare, and man, it feels really cool to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
It's a very similar experience to me. I used to do a lot of improv in New York, which I think will be a surprise to exactly 0 people watching this. I think I exude really strong former improv kid energy.
Sure.
But it's the same feeling I get when I'm on stage and my scene partner says something. Oh, we're in a spaceship. And I'm like, I didn't think we would be in a spaceship. I don't know about that. Okay. And just kind of roll with it. And then eventually, pretty quickly in improv, it becomes something that I'm like, okay, yeah, we are in a spaceship. I'm seeing the scene. It's all coming together. Right. I think what makes a really good creative partnership is someone who's like, okay, even if they're not sure, it's like, let's try it. Because then if we go down there and we hate it, we can turn back and we can come back. We can try something else. We don't have to live over there, you know, but let's at least see what's over there.
I know. I think that's a really good way to point at it. I think it's worth mentioning. You and I are in a creative partnership as well as a romantic partnership.
What?
So, you know, we're not only a couple, but we are like business partners. You know, we run this podcast together and we're in business together, which that's an entirely different facet of our relationship that I've actually never had before. I've never worked with my romantic partner before. And there's a lot of really wonderful things that have come from that, from being both your boyfriend and being your business partner, that I've never gotten in another partnership before. And one of them is that you and I both kind of share a lot of values that I think make it very easy to work together. Our creative values are very similar. And I think that's an important part of collaboration, is understanding, one, who you are as a creator, who you are as an artist, and also who you're inviting into your world, who you're inviting into and working with, and the kind of things that they bring with them, right? Because it's hard to work with someone who is diametrically opposed or has different values or cares about different things than you. You want to talk about it a lot. I'm very proud of the podcast and what we've been able to build on this. And I am also very happy that you and I don't want to create like AI slop for the sake of generating money.
Oh man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be a big value difference if you and I, because when we set out to start this thing, it was very like, okay, what can we do that interests us? What can we do that we're really passionate about that is also in line with like our skills, our experience, that we can lend a unique voice to? I know it's something you talk about a lot when you talk about the episodes that you want to put together. It's not just about covering the thing. It's like, what can we add to this? What is our perspective that only we can give to the thing that we'd be covering?
Yeah. Sometimes we get topic suggestions in our suggestion box, and they're great. I'm like, I'm sure this would get views, and I know something about the topic. I think it's interesting. It's a little sensational. It's like related to the arts or creativity in some way, but it's either already been extensively covered, or I don't think we really have anything to add to it. And I'm like, I don't want to just write like tabloid things where I'm like, this author sucks.
Yeah.
Blech, subscribe. I feel really cheap about that. I'm like, I'm asking somebody to sit down and spend an hour of their time with us. I want them to get something out of that.
Yeah.
So if I have to wade through 50 articles about Kate Corain and watch videos and try to, and like pull out new things and highlight parts in the script where I think Connor and I might go off on a tangent and have like a conversation, I would much rather do that. That's much harder.
It is.
than just punching something into ChatGPT and saying, what do you think?
Yeah.
But I prefer doing that. I would feel really weird just, I don't know, slopping something together and then asking someone to sit down and spend an hour of their time with us when I didn't even spend an hour making it.
That's the thing. If you don't care enough when you're making it, why would anybody care enough to watch it?
Yes.
Right.
And there are plenty of topics like that where I'm like, I don't think I want to spend a week putting this together. I know how much time you and I spend putting together the script and researching it and then editing it, gathering assets and then posting it. And I'm like, if it's not something I think that you and I both are going to be interested in, that's just like torture.
It is. I know. And could you imagine, as my business partner, as my podcast co-host, if I came in with my episodes and they were all like very clearly AI written?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I would be so sad.
Yeah.
I'd be so disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to have a successful business partnership. A partnership.
It's
really hard to have a partnership. A business partnership or a creative partnership with somebody who is diametrically opposed to you in value. I think it's really important to have a set goal. Yeah. And that doesn't have to be, I'm going to get 100,000 subscribers. It just has to be, we want to make history-related podcast content.
Yeah.
That you and I are totally in charge of producing. Or we want to write dark comedy sketches together. That it can be as simple and as open as that. But as long as you're both aligned on that initial idea, then that can really help you when you enter stormy seas, inevitably, with this other person, because you can always come back to the thing that you started in the first place.
Right.
If you don't have that, you have nothing to lean back on, and you're going to hate each other.
I think that's right. There's a really wonderful book I read years ago called Good to Great, and it talks about like kind of the levels of leadership and running a business. And one thing they talk about is this concept of like getting a team together of people. And a lot of businesses struggle with this because what they want to do is they want to figure out exactly where everybody needs to go right at the start. We need somebody who can do this. We need somebody who can do that. And then they get so bogged down in the details of that they never really get off the finish line or the starting line. You know what I mean? And the kind of philosophy that they think you should adopt is one of like, just get everybody on the bus. Don't worry about where anybody's sitting. Just get them all on the bus first and start driving. Because once you're driving, you can get people to where they need to be. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the thing about when you get people on the bus, you have to make sure that they're comfortable if the destination changes. Because the destination when it comes to business is going to change that's like the one consistent thing. The destination will change.
It will.
You know, it's about the way of getting there that is the most important to everybody on the bus.
Yeah.
you know?
Are they adaptable? Are they flexible? Are they open to other ideas? Are they open? Okay, we started making podcast content. Are they open to other forms of content?
Yeah.
Okay, our episodes are usually an hour long. What about 20 minutes? How about 30 minutes? How about 2 hours? You know? And if people get really rigid in their structure, that makes it much harder to have them on the team.
It does.
You know, if they're not comfortable leading outside of that box, that can be really tough.
Yeah, I agree. Let me ask you this, because what we're talking about right now is collaboration. And I think it's interesting because solo versus, partner is not really like a thing that's opposed. It's more just like two aspects of, creating, right?
It's literally like diabetes and cancer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally different things.
As an artist, you're a writer. And when you are solo, when you've done projects by yourself, what are the things you like about working solo?
I love that it's all on my own time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on 2 projects right now that are just me. Nobody's asking me to make them. Nobody is paying me to make them, certainly. And nobody is relying on me to produce them, to make them happen. It's all just my own thing. I would like to get this play produced. I would like to get this movie made. When that script is finished is totally up to me in my own time. So I can stay up tonight and write until 2 a.m. if I want to.
Yeah.
And if I don't want to and I end up getting really tired or I end up working on something else, that's totally fine. Nobody's going to yell at me. I love that freedom and that flexibility. Because when you work with somebody else, it's like having a partner at the gym, or like a personal trainer. They're waiting for you. You can't cancel last minute. You have to show up.
That's
no matter what else is going on.
That's exactly the analogy that I wrote down.
Yeah.
It's like having a partner at the gym.
It is. They hold you accountable and it can be really great. But some days you wake up and it's the first day of your period and the last thing you want to do is get on that elliptical.
Exactly.
And I think having that flexibility is really important.
Flexibility is really important when you're working by yourself. I think along with flexibility is a good, healthy measure of like self-forgiveness.
Yes.
Because exactly what you said, you can work on that. There's no deadline on that.
No.
Right? It also means that it can get a little, sometimes, at least in my experience, it can be a little toxic where it's like, I beat myself up over not working on the thing.
Yes.
And I have to remind myself, nobody is begging me for this. Nobody's life is on the line with this. This is entirely on my own. Right?
Yes.
And that's kind of it's a double-edged sword when it comes to nobody's asking for it.
Yeah.
Especially
with things like writing a book.
Yes.
That takes a lot of time and the progress can be painstakingly slow.
Yeah.
Oh, I only wrote 200 new words today because I was editing the first 40,000. Oh man, it's disheartening.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to get into a position where you're like, I need to take a week off. I need to take space from it. And again, that's much harder to do if you have a partner.
It is. I mean, look at what we do, right? Like,
yeah,
we produce this podcast and we put out a video every week. Putting out a video every week, it's more than just one day of work, right?
It's 7 days of work.
It's 7 days of work. I mean, it's 6 days to air for us, ultimately.
Which does it show? I don't know. Maybe not. But it is 7 days of work.
And it's like, I love being able to show up for you. I love being a good partner in that way. And I also trust that you're going to pull your end of that bargain as well. You're going to hold up your end of the couch, as Bill Burr says, right? But it can also be kind of tough. It can be tough to like meet that schedule because once we're already on that schedule of we post once a week, it feels really hard to slow down. It almost feels like a failure to not post every week.
Yeah, or to let something slip through the cracks,
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm responsible for actually posting the video. Like I'm the one who clicks publish when we post on YouTube and I'm the one who uploads it all to Spotify. And for some reason, especially recently, I keep forgetting to upload to Spotify or to like all podcast networks, but like it all goes through Spotify. I keep forgetting to do that.
Really?
So then like 3 days will go by and I'm like, oh my fucking God, it's a podcast. I forgot to publish it as a podcast.
We did get some comments on our last video about, I can't wait till this is uploaded to Spotify.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. That's entirely my fault. And then there are some days where you're running behind on the edit because you are also doing 500 other things. There's some days where my research ends right before we hit record.
Yes.
And it's really tough.
It is tough.
Because if I am running late or I need to take time to do other things or to work other jobs, then I know that this is something that suffers and that can be really tough because you don't want the creative partnership to suffer because of that. I don't want to let you down. But also I do need to sleep at some point.
Yeah, right. Well, and frankly, when it comes to creative endeavors, I think the harder aspect too is like you and I still have to pay rent, you know?
Yeah, we still have to shower and eat and stuff. You know, just because we're in a creative partnership together, and this is one of the most important aspects of my life and of like our relationship together, that doesn't mean that all of the really boring stuff just goes away.
Right.
Or that we suddenly have an assistant. I still have to buy artichokes if I want artichokes.
Right. Exactly. I know. And there's still managing life. There's still going to therapy and taking out the trash.
Yeah.
It can be tough. I think another part of solo creation, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. There seems to be this feeling of like purity when it comes to the thing being created when you're just doing it by yourself. There's no input from anybody else, right? It's purely your own thing.
Yes.
And I think a lot of artists get caught into that feeling of pure. I think it's where the auteur thing comes from. It's this feeling of like, it's only mine. It's only mine. I'm not going to let anybody else in. I'm the genius who's
pure, unadulterated vision.
I've run into that a lot in my film career.
You do. I think that's pretty rampant in a lot of creative endeavors. And Mary Sweeney was the editor on Mulholland Drive. She's also a professor at USC, which is how I met her. But she talks about that same idea. She's very adamant about when you're working on an idea, especially when you're working on a first draft of a script, don't tell anybody about it. Don't tell them anything about it, because now suddenly you're carrying around 500 other voices in your head and their 500 different versions of what the thing ought to be, and their opinions and their thoughts and their references. And you don't want that. You don't want to invite voices into the room any sooner than you have to. So keep it to yourself. And I really wrestle with that. She told me that in 2021. I have thought about it literally every day since then.
Really?
5 years, Mary Sweeney. I've been thinking about that idea because I can't figure out if I agree with it or not.
Oh, interesting.
I think there are some ideas that I've had, some scripts I've had that have suffered from too many cooks in the kitchen, especially in my early playwriting days. I think about those workshopping sessions I was doing at the New School, and I'm like, I think this thing is just overly edited to the point where I can't even remember what the initial idea was. So it's really difficult to go back to those scripts and try to rewrite them. At this point, it's been about 10 years trying to comb through those scripts and figure out what is worth keeping and what is worth throwing away.
Yeah. Because
there were just so many voices and suggestions and copy pasting, and it's kind of a nightmare. It's like a scrapbook of a play. I mean, it's a disaster. And then there have been other ideas that I've shared with people, and they've become stronger because I've shared it with them.
Yeah.
And they've helped me create the story and maintain what's really important to it. So I don't know. I've experienced both.
That's interesting. Stephen King talks about a very similar thing in his book on writing, where he's like, you want to write with a closed door.
Yeah.
You know, the first draft should be behind a closed door, and then you invite people in to give notes and get feedback.
I think there is some truth to that. For the first draft, just write as much as you possibly can and then take a weed whacker to it later. And people are really good for that. People are really good for trimming what doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when you send them a first draft or an early draft or something, they'll be like, I don't get this scene. Why was that? Do we need that maple syrup dancing scene in it? And you're like, probably not. Probably we didn't need that.
Yeah.
I just put that in. I thought it'd be funny.
I know it's again, a double-edged sword of solo work, which is if you don't want to, you don't have to get notes. You don't have to get feedback from anybody.
You can just live on your laptop forever.
It can.
Or you can self-publish.
Right.
Seriously. You can do whatever you want.
Now, there's a lot of risk with that.
Yes. Now you have an unedited book that's never been read by another human being.
That's the thing. Sometimes you want feedback, right? I am somebody who loves feedback. I love getting people's notes. I think I really thrive off of jumping off points. I can take a jumping off point and really go with it. I actually I struggle a lot with kind of the initial inception of some things. That's when it comes to like my actual creative strength. That's something I have a pretty, I think, heavy blind spot with.
Like initial ideation.
I think initial ideation is tough for me. It's the actual work of writing for me is like coming up with the concept, like, and really getting it to, okay, we're starting here. Let's go. You know what I mean? And so for me, like getting feedback and getting notes is a marvelous part of the process, I think. But some people struggle with that. I know a lot of people who can't take notes at all.
Most people I know can't. It's tough.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I've experienced this in writer's room settings where somebody comes in with pages and we read them out loud and then we give notes and we're trying to meld it into the larger script. and they want to argue. The initial writer wants to argue with you and clarify things. And it's like, look, ultimately, if it's not clear on the page, you don't get to come on screen and go to bat for your own writing. It has to be on the page or it's not going to be on the screen. You can't explain yourself later. You can't interrupt Landman and come in and be like, well, that line might have sounded a little clunky, but what it actually is referring to is this larger universal idea. No, you have 5 seconds. You have Billy Bob Thornton say that line, and now it's over and we're on to the next thing.
Right. I know. I think that is such an important aspect of screenwriting that I think it's one of those things where it's such a simple concept, but it's so hard for like young screenwriters to understand at the start, where it's like you don't get to hide on the page. There's no hiding. You know, you and I see this on a lot of short films, a lot of like amateur short films or like first time director short films, where it's like you and I are good at watching the short film and realizing like, oh, there's a lot going on in the action lines of this script right now that is not coming to the screen.
Yeah.
And it shows. It actually does show that something is missing, right?
There's something a professor told me when I was studying at USC. He was like, every writer goes through the same 3 stages of grief when they receive a note. The first one is, fuck you. The second one is, I'm the worst. The third one is, what was the note again? And I found that to be true.
Yeah.
Even for the most modest of notes. Oh, I don't love the title. Fuck you. You've no idea the things I've been through. Oh my God, I'm so awful. I literally can't even name a script. I have a fucking MFA and I can't even name my stupid script. What were they saying? I completely zoned out of the conversation. Yeah. I have that same I'm on that same wheel constantly. Really? And I think the longer you write and the more notes you get, the faster that wheel happens. So that in real time you can be like, fuck you, I don't care, whatever. Just whatever. What was the note again? Yeah. Just cut to the chase real quick. So I think 2 things are true. I think a lot of writers are really bad at taking notes. And I think a lot of people are really bad at giving notes.
I agree.
You have to understand what the note behind the note is. If somebody tells you this script is boring, that might not actually be the note. The note might actually be, oh, a few of the key scenes are a little slow. You're coming in a little too early.
Sure.
You know, I think especially in screenwriting, we don't need to see somebody get out of their car, walk up the driveway, unlock the front door, come into the front door, close the door, hang up his jacket, put his keys in the dish, say, hi, honey, I'm home, go into the kitchen, and then discover that his son is throwing a birthday party.
Yeah.
We just want to see him walk in and there's a birthday party. But you've just wasted like 10 action lines describing the most mundane of activities. Like, I zoned out when I was saying that. It's so boring.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a note of this scene feels like it's irrelevant. It could mean a couple things. It could mean the scene actually is irrelevant. It could also mean there hasn't been enough buildup to make this scene have weight.
Yes, and it's your job as a writer to go through your script and to know what they're talking about.
Right.
Why did they say the script is dragging? Is it because it's 155 pages long? Could be.
Yeah.
Or is it just a few of the key scenes are a little too long? Or is it that there are too many characters, there's too much going on? You have to be able to discern what that note actually means, because not everybody is going to know how to give you a great note.
Exactly.
And I think also getting specific about what you're asking from notes is really important. I think if you just send your script to a friend and you're like, hey, let me know what you think, you're going to get the most mixed bag Skittles and Reese's, like Halloween candy bag full of notes. If you're looking for specific notes, ask people for those specific notes.
I agree.
Did you know that this is the secret relationship? Did you see this twist coming? Is it funny? What's the pacing like? Is it a little too slow?
Yeah.
Be very specific in your ask, and then people will read the script with that in mind, and they'll be more likely to give you notes that are actually very helpful for you.
I think that's entirely correct. I know you've told me that you had people from your class at USC where they kind of have specialties in your mind. You have a person that you call, because they're really good at punching up jokes or punching up dialogue, right? You have somebody who's really good at structure, and that's the person you send it to when you want notes on structure.
Yes.
And I think it's important, like, not even as a writer, but as an artist, having people who you can trust, kind of your trusted circle of, if not other artists, just people that you know will give you the notes that are going to help make the thing really good.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's another thing that I think about all the time. When somebody sends me something and they want notes on it, I make really sure that any of the notes I give them are not making the script more like something I would write, but more like something they are trying to write. I think if you want to be a responsible creative partner, you want to look at something that somebody's making and understand where they're trying to get to and help them get there. Your job is not to make it, well, I know this is like a straight period drama, but I really like dark comedies.
Yeah.
So I think we should insert some humor there. If they don't want it to be funny, don't make it funny. Not everything has to be funny, you know? Or if somebody's painting and you're like, oh, there's not a lot of texture, but they're not going for texture, don't give them textural notes.
Right.
It's not something that you are trying to make. You're not trying to make their thing more yours. You're trying to make it more theirs. So I think that's another really important thing when you're giving notes and working on something with someone. It's like, what do they want it to be?
Yeah.
How can you help them make it that?
And I think that also extends to like being an audience member, frankly.
Yes.
I think a lot of times people think movies are bad or books are bad when they just don't get it, if that makes sense. I think sometimes someone who doesn't like a certain movie thinks it's bad, and it's like, you actually don't know what it's going for. It's like, did the movie achieve what it was going for? That's kind of the quality of the thing in my mind. It's like, if it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. It didn't resonate with you. But to say that something is bad because you don't like it doesn't really, like, kind of borders on the edge of like, well, you know,
yeah,
you're kind of missing it.
This is sacrilegious. I don't love James Joyce.
Yeah.
Do I think he's a bad writer? No. Are you crazy?
Right.
No, it just doesn't resonate with me. And I can't tell you how much I wish it did. I will keep trying. I think I've read 2 of his books. I'll keep trying. I really will.
Yeah.
It's just, I haven't found my way in yet.
That's how I feel about Faulkner.
I know.
I really want to love Faulkner.
Some of it's really great.
Yeah. Some of the best sentences I've ever read have been in Faulkner books.
I know.
And I've never finished a Faulkner book.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
So, but I also recognize that it's like, oh, it's not my thing. So maybe I'm not the right person to judge it for what it is.
It's not your thing, or it's not the right time,
Yeah.
or you're not really getting what they're going for. I heard a lot of this discourse around Sinners, where people who didn't like the movie didn't really know what it was about.
Yeah.
Which, that's a very heady movie. There are a lot of layers to that movie.
Right.
So I get it. It's like you watch it upon first watch. It kind of needs rewatching. It kind of requires like a second, third, fourth viewing to really understand all the layers. That's a well-baked cake.
It is.
But just to say, I didn't get it, I don't like it. It's like, I don't think that's poor filmmaking. I think you're not engaging with it with interest.
Media literacy is at an all-time low. And to your point, I watched Sinners a second time with you, and things that bothered me the first time, I was like, oh, I see it now the second time through, right? I think it's worth noting, like, I think a lot of people treat movies as a one-off thing.
Yes.
That's a lot of times people watch movies once and they never go back to it and they go, that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Movies deserve to be revisited.
Yeah, they're not sparklers at a 4th of July party. Like, rewatch it. Try again.
I know. I've watched, people who watch this podcast know, one of my favorite movies is In the Mood for Love.
Oh, yeah.
And I've watched that movie probably 10 or 15 times in my life. And every time I watch it, I see something new that resonates differently for me, you know? Same with the Iron.
Movies do that.
Yeah, the Iron Giant is the same way for me.
Oh,
you know, that's what I think determines a good movie to somebody. It's not what won the Oscar in 2007. It's like, no, that's the thing that touches my soul that I keep coming back to. It is answering a question that I don't know how to ask yet, right? And I think that's part of it. Another thing, circling. I think I want to get back to the idea of collaboration because you kind of briefly touched on it, but. Not just getting notes from people, but I think a lot of times with writing, your biggest collaborator is actually yourself. Because when you write a thing, you kind of forget sometimes what you write, you know? I know Stephen King has said, and other writers have said, the best way to write is write your first draft, lock it in your desk, and don't look at it for 3 months.
Yeah.
Then when you open it, you go, oh, this is terrible. Who wrote this shit?
You know what I heard from Taika Waititi?
What?
He writes a script and then he puts it in his desk for a year.
A year?
And then after a year, he rewrites it without looking at the original draft.
Oh.
And he rewrites it just from what sticks in his memory. And then that's the script he goes with. Because he's like, if I don't remember the scene, it's not important to write again. So I'm just going to rewrite the ones that I remember.
What a fascinating and very privileged way to write things.
I know. Like, what timeline are you on?
That's somebody who has Thor money, who can kind of take their time to write a script.
Like, brother, producers are knocking right now.
No, but I definitely see the merit in doing that 100%. It's funny. There's a book I read about screenwriting that talks about something similar, where it's this screenwriting partnership. And they said the way they do it is they each write the script once. Maybe somebody will do the first draft and they'll send it over. And the second person will do kind of a pass through and they'll send it back. And the first person who wrote the first draft will put back all the jokes that the second person has taken out. And if the second person takes out those jokes again, then okay, we leave those jokes don't deserve to be there. But if they make it through again, we leave those jokes in, right? It's like there's a certain amount of like reconstructing the thing that's been taken down, right?
I wrote my thesis in grad school, and that script, it was a half-hour comedy pilot. That script went through so many iterations, but there was one joke that made it through every single version of that script. It existed in the first draft I wrote, and it is still in there right now. And it's because it got a little laugh every single time.
Is that right?
And listen, you hear the same script read out loud every day for a full academic year, it stops being funny. So if you're still getting like little huffs through the nose on a joke, you got to keep it. It's gold.
When it comes to working solo, I think it can be tough to look back at things that you've written. Because I feel like an idiot whenever I reread things.
Oh my God. It's like, who hired this illiterate moron?
Exactly.
Like, no wonder I couldn't get a job answering phones. Like,
yeah, and that's one of the problems when it comes to working solo. Not one of the problems. One of the things that ends up being very confronting is like your flaws and shortcomings you run into very quickly, right?
Oh,
you can't hide from yourself.
No,
unfortunately, as much as we want to. And that's something that you have to either confront and learn how to get better and move like work around, or a lot of times people just don't confront them at all and ignore the problems that they have and the shortcomings they have as an artist, and because of that, the art suffers, right? And I think it's hard to see when your flaws or your shortcomings are hurting the thing that you're making as well, right? And I think that's where an outside voice can kind of lend a little bit of illumination to it.
Yes. I think it's, we've talked about this idea that inspiration is a river that you just kind of dunk your hand into and you pull something out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you pull something out that's not really meant for you.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of times where I've come up with an idea and I'm like, I really like that idea. And I start like ideating on it and simmering on it. I'll even like start creating an outline. And I realize very quickly like, oh, this isn't really mine. I can't do this justice. And I'm not going to enjoy spending this much time and effort on this thing.
Which is a very important aspect of it.
Yeah. Like I think if you want to write a script or you want to make a painting that takes up an entire wall or you want to open up an earring making business, you need to make sure that you enjoy enough of that process that you're not going to like hate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because writing is such a grueling task. And screenwriting can be so technical and so difficult to get into the hands of people that you need to be able to love the idea right now so much that in 5 years when you're pitching it to producers, you still like it. You still light up a little bit when people bring it up,
We've talked about things that we like working solo. What's something about working solo that you really dislike? Something that kind of irks you or bothers you every time that you work on something by yourself?
That the progress is much slower. Working with another person, the progress is much faster.
Yes.
So I've had 3 pretty significant creative collaborations in my life, and they've all been writing partnerships, me and one other person. And the first time was so rewarding because we would sit down and we would write for 6 or 7 hours, and it was so fun. It was just like creative juices flowing. We're going down research rabbit holes. We're totally aligned on what the thing needs to be. We're totally aligned on the tone, then the characters, and we just kept building it up and building it up and building it up. So even if we only wrote like 5 pages that day, we got so much brainstorming and outlining done that I felt like I couldn't accomplish this in a year of writing by myself.
Yeah.
And it certainly wouldn't have been as fun. So that really opened up the world of like, oh, maybe like I'm meant to be like a collaborative writer. Working by myself is just not as rewarding. I think I'm meant to have another person in the room with me that I can like throw the hacky sack at. And then I've had 2 other like comedy writing partnerships, and both of those have been rewarding for the same reason. We show up and we're very fast because now we're like professional writers. So now we show up and it's like, all right, we got 10 pages done today. Great, let's go home.
Yeah.
And then we show up the next day, 10 pages, and within 3 days we have a fully working pilot. That is not horrible.
Yeah.
3 days, Connor Angus. Can you believe that?
That's pretty incredible.
On my own, it will take me months. I will overthink things. I'll go down rabbit holes. I'll change characters' names. I get really stuck on symbolic nomenclature. I get stuck on teeny tiny things. And when you're with another person, you just can't do it. You got to keep it going. You want to keep the energy up. You don't want to let them down, and there is an element, and maybe this is toxic, but I really want to prove myself. If somebody brings me into their creative process and their idea and their apartment, I want to prove that I deserve to be there and that I enjoy and I appreciate the opportunity getting to work with them. And if I'm not coming up with good ideas and I'm getting caught on, well, does this name sound too much like the other name? And did they say, oh my gosh, in 1985, I think I should research that for 25 minutes. Like, I'm not going to get invited back. I got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
And I can be obsessive and compulsive and disorderly. So I enjoy having another person there that really keeps the speed up and the balloon in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about the pros of a partnership, because I think you're kind of alluding to it. It's being able to cycle through a lot in a short amount of time. Is valuable. You
figure out very quickly what's actually not going to work, because they'll suggest something and you're like, not really sure. Let's see about it. And within 20 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, we can't do that. That doesn't work.
Right. And that's the thing. And sometimes you'll say something out loud. I'm sure you've seen me do this before, where you say something out loud and you go, oh no, that's terrible. That's a terrible idea.
Horrible.
No. Yeah. But you said it. It's out. You don't have to think about it ever again.
Yeah.
Right?
Whereas if you're by yourself, you're probably not saying everything out loud. You're just writing, and it's cantankerous. And you have to spend an hour and a half on it before you realize, oh my God, I've been trudging down this path and that's not where the story is.
Yeah.
I have to delete all of that and restart tomorrow.
You and I have both talked about this. This is not a collaboration thing. It's the way that you and I research and write the scripts for our episodes. Nothing, I'm telling you guys, nothing is more disheartening than one of us. We research a rabbit hole. We start the research on a rabbit hole. We get hours into the research process and go, wow, there's nothing here. There's no story here.
Or there's a story here. It's way too big for a rabbit hole.
It's way too big.
I did that with COINTELPRO.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think you should still make that a video.
I went way down the COINTELPRO pipeline, and I was like, I can't make a video about this.
Really?
1, we have a strict no bummers policy. 2, I'm watching my cholesterol, and nothing. Y'all, nothing. I feel my heart rate going up just saying it out loud. Nothing pisses me off more than COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
And I was like, even an hour and a half long podcast episode is not enough to cover this entire thing.
Right.
It is a rabbit hole the size of the world. So that I just can't subject us to that. Also, I will be yelling the entire time.
Right. Well, that'll be tough on the cortisol levels of the general vibe.
Oh, I'll ruin my entire A1C in one episode.
I remember when we were doing the Oscars episode, you thought that we would do it in one sitting.
I did.
And I remember when we got, I believe, an hour and a half into the first episode, we stopped and I said, I think we should release these in multiple parts. And you didn't say this verbatim, but you basically said, I would rather die than release multiple parts of this video.
I don't like doing that.
I know you don't.
I don't like making sequels. I don't like binging on. I'm like, I just want one episode on the thing. We cover it entirely. We say what we need to say and we get the hell out of there.
Right. But you engaged with me as a good partner should. And okay, maybe this would be the best thing for the thing. Yeah. Right. And I think we released 4 or 5 parts of the Oscars, 4 parts of the Oscars series. And it ended up being great because then we could time it down to I think we did 20-year segments in each episode.
It actually worked out really nicely.
It worked out really nicely. But if you had been by yourself, you might not have gone that way.
I think I might have just released a 7-hour-long episode that nobody listened to.
Exactly. And that's where the collaboration, the partnership thing can be a good part. A good part of my career has been with the working for the Duplass brothers and their company. And they're a very big inspiration to me in terms of how I want to run things, how I want to be a creative partner. And one thing they said in an interview that I think is very true about having somebody who's on your team, having a good partner, is when they're directing together, they said, some days you're not going to be firing on all cylinders. And if Mark is relying on Jay, it's like sometimes I look at Jay and I go, I know I can't be 100% today. And you don't even have to say anything, but looking at each other, that when you walk out of the dressing room, when you walk out of the trailer, it's like that other person's going to be picking up the slack. And, we're just going to play it by ear today a little bit. And I feel like you and I have reached that point too. It's like, I can tell when we're recording, you're getting a little too hot. It's a little too stuffy in the room. Let's wrap it up a little quickly, or let's move on to the next thing, and I'm sure I have my own kind of isms that you have to manage, and you've learned after doing all these podcast episodes with me. But it's a really important aspect of having a partnership, is being able to read the other person and knowing how to not pick up the slack, but give them a little bit of an arm or a shoulder.
It's not all that different from having a friendship or a romantic relationship. Ultimately, it's a relationship with another person. Mm-hmm. You want to be mindful. You want to be supportive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, when it comes to the pros of being a partner, it's not only that, but it's having somebody who you trust to like take care of the other stuff, right? You and I work two different aspects of this podcast together, right? You and I both write, but you do significantly more writing than I do. And part of that is because of the workload, right? The workload of writing and editing was kind of burning me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's tough because it's tough as a partner not to be able to help the other person. You can't help me edit. You give me notes. So we send each other notes back and forth when it comes to the edit. But I also can't help you write your scripts, right? And it's tough being a partner knowing that you can't help the other person. But that's part of the compartmentalization of the thing. It's like, yeah, we have an editor. The editor takes care of the edit. The writer takes care of the writing. And then you and I are co-hosts and we film the thing together, right? And that's a really good part of the partnership, is knowing that you don't have to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
Knowing that the other person is there to help, right? In my partnerships in the past, that's been a vital part of it, is I don't have to send all the emails. I don't have to plan all of the meetings. I don't have to go to all of the meetings. I can do as much as I can that is going to be positive for the thing. And, why not lean on the other person a little bit? That's what they're there for, right? I think where that becomes tricky is as a partner when you can't help the other person, when you see them struggling with a thing, right? I've seen you struggling in the last couple of weeks because you have a lot on your plate when it comes to writing, because you're a professional writer. You're not just writing for this podcast. You're writing a lot of other things all at once. And it's been hard as your partner, both romantically and professionally, to see you're not struggling with the workload, but it's a lot of work. And I noticed that you're not getting as much sleep. And I noticed that, you're stressed about making sure that you're not disappointing anybody. That's a big part of you. You don't want to disappoint anybody. And you never do. And I think it comes at the sacrifice of like your physical exhaustion, and I want to help you, but all I can do is kind of support you the best way I can. I make you coffee. I cook sometimes. We go on walks, right? We go for drives. We get fun drinks at the 7-Eleven down the street.
You let me complain.
I let you complain. That's an important aspect. Commiseration is big when it comes to partnerships.
You need it.
You need it.
Especially if you're a curmudgeon like me. Get somebody who will listen to you complain.
I love it so much. But yeah, picking a good partner means you don't have to worry about as much about certain things. Like I trust you implicitly when it comes to so much. I know if you say, I've got this script done, I'll have it done by Sunday. I know it's going to be done by Sunday, right? And I hope that the trust is returned. I hope you know that, like, when I say I'll get the edit done by Monday, I'm going to get it done by Monday, right? And trust is such a valuable currency when it comes to collaboration and partnership. It cannot be understated how much. And once you break that trust, it's really hard to earn it back.
It really is. It's strange. You break it one time and it does undermine the 6 years of good experience that you've had. It's like, wow, you went behind my back and made this deal or sold this script and you didn't involve me in that at all. That's interesting.
That's actually a really good point, because it's not just about trusting the partner to do the work. It's about the trust of, are you going to treat me well as a person?
Yeah. Right? Do you respect my work? Do you respect me as a person in the room with you? Or are you so consumed with what you want and what you need out of the world and sucking that out that you forget that there's another human being in the room who is here to help you?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I guess moving into the negative aspects of partnership, that's definitely one of them, right? You can get taken advantage of if you're not paying attention. And I think it's easy to get swept up in the excitement of creativity and creative collaboration. And it's really easy to fall into doing the not so fun stuff. That's been a problem in my past partnerships is I'm a logistics guy.
Mhm.
I'm really good at handling logistics. I'm really good at sending emails. I'm really good at planning. Those are not fun things to do.
No, I wouldn't say so.
They're required. Somebody needs to do it,
Important.
right?
Yeah. But they're not sexy.
No, I do our business taxes.
Yes.
That's something I'm doing right now.
God bless.
I don't mind doing it. I don't love doing it. I would love if we had an accountant at some point in the future, but I don't mind doing it. In my previous partnerships, what ended up happening is we start off as creative equals. And then what slowly happens is it starts to be somebody else takes the creative lead and I take the busybody work, the busy work, the logistic work, the kind of less sexy part of the job.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's really hard to advocate for yourself when that happens because somebody has to do it. Somebody has to take the trash out at the end of the night. Right. And that's where communication becomes a big part of the collaboration process as well. I'm unhappy. I want something to change, you know?
And I think there's a certain aspect of, I can only speak to this in terms of writing partnerships because I've never had a business partner before. But when you're writing a script with someone, there is some need for pacing and for structure and for clarity. And that's not the fun stuff. That's not the jokes. You know, that's not the fun character quirks. That's not the goofy monologues. We just need to make sure that this thing is readable. And I've taken on that task with all 3 of my writing partnerships, actually.
Really?
And I've been more than happy to do it because the other parts are so fulfilling that it's like, it feels more like something I can offer them as opposed to something I have to do.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't feel like labor. It feels like, I love this. I love this script and I love working with you and I want it to succeed. So I'm going to do what I can to help it succeed.
Yeah.
And if that means that you get to write more of the jokes and I do more of the structure, I'm fine with that. Because again, ultimately, when you're making something together, you shouldn't be able to tell where one person starts and the other person ends. It should all just be together.
Yeah.
So, and I don't look at those scripts and say, oh yeah, I really structured that scene well. It's like just a script we made together.
Exactly. It's supposed to be better than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
Ultimately, right? I mentioned before, my mom worked as a county manager. She was a county manager before she became a financial investigator. And she told me that one of the trickier aspects of running a county is there are so many people at the county governmental level who are very self-involved or very like looking out for themselves. She would want to make a project happen, build a bridge, allocate money for a bridge, that kind of thing. And it's like a lot of her job came down to making people think that their idea was the idea that she was pitching them.
Yes.
Right? Convincing them to work on behalf of the project in a selfish way, right? She would kind of fade into the background and put the project first. She would do whatever it took to get the project actually finished. And a lot of times that's stoking egos, right? That's, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could put your name on it? That kind of thing, right?
There's that great quote in My Big Fat Greek Wedding where the mom comes in and she goes, you know, the father might be the head of the house, but the woman is the neck. And she can make him face whichever way she wants to. Love that.
That's a great
Love
quote.
the actress who plays the mom.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding holds a lot of lessons I think people need to learn in life.
It really does. Namely that Athena is a fantastic name.
It is a great
I'm going to
name.
bring that back.
Ultimately, I think a partnership is very similar to a romantic relationship where I have had ones before our partnership, but I don't know if I could have had our partnership without the previous ones I've had.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? I've learned a lot of lessons in bad partnerships. You learn a lot of lessons, especially when you get burned, right? But I think it's important that even when something goes poorly in terms of collaboration, that you don't let it make you jaded. Because collaboration is still, I think, a better way to be as an artist. With all that said, I think collaboration is hard. But like most things in life that are hard, it's worth doing. And I think it's worth putting yourself out there to do it, you know? Because ultimately collaboration is like a very human thing. It's coming together and making something that is greater than the sum of its parts, right? It goes back to like somebody gets the firewood, somebody starts the fire, somebody cooks the meat, and somebody tells the story. It's coming together and making the thing together. And that's ultimately like what we're supposed to be doing, I think. And that's what makes art very beautiful, is knowing that 1,000 people worked on the thing, 1,000 hands touched it. I think ultimately what we see with the auteur, nobody is an island. And the beauty of art is to work with others and to connect with others. That's the ultimate goal. And I think that's kind of where we're going to leave off on this one.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Connor.
And this has been a chit chat thumpy thump with the thinky thumps. We want to give a special shout out to our coffee members who support us over there on Coffee. They leave us very nice little messages and they engage with our mini episodes that we post every once in a while. And it's only because of them that we're able to do all of the work that we do on this channel and across podcast platforms beyond. So huge thank you to them. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you to our coffee members. And thank you to you watching this video. If you like this video, consider leaving a like. And if you want, subscribe. We post videos like this every Wednesday.
Every damn Wednesday.
Every single Wednesday. We haven't missed a Wednesday yet. And we would love for you to join our community. We love reading all the comments. And I don't know, we've somehow managed to foster a really strong community that we love of like-minded artists.
We have very good people over here.
We do.
A lot of good gays.
Anyway, it's very hot in this room, and I think we're going to sign off. She's Lindsay. I'm Connor, and we'll see you next week.
And I'll see you in 2 seconds.